Hi, I'm Sela Ward. I just finished talking to the great Kara on Really Famous. We had so much fun.
This is Really Famous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and I interview famous people. But I don't just interview them like your typical interview. I'm not really interested in those same old questions. Instead, I like to know who they really are and what they really think. Today, I'm sitting down with Sela Ward. Yeah, wow, Sela Ward. So she's an Emmy winner. You may remember her from the television series Sisters or Once Again. She also starred in CSI New York. She was in House and Graves, and she had a very memorable cameo in Westworld. Plus, you may not remember this, she played Harrison Ford's wife, Helen Kimball, in The Fugitive. What a movie! And with Tommy Lee Jones, too. She's been in many other films too, like The Stepfather, The Day After Tomorrow, Gone Girl, and Independence Day Resurgence. Now you can see Sela every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock on the CBS television series FBI. It's the newest criminal procedural from Dick Wolf. You know him. He's the guy who created Law & Order and is behind all the other Law & Orders. So yeah, Sela plays the boss, Dana. Again, you can catch FBI Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Sela is also pretty active in advocacy. She's a child advocate, and in the year 2000, she founded Hope Village for Children to give vulnerable children a home. It's in Mississippi, which is where Sela is from, and it has helped thousands of kids over the years. Big shout out this week to Sofitel New York, where Sela and I recorded this episode from a beautiful corner suite on a high floor overlooking Midtown Manhattan, including a nice peek at the Empire State Building. Thank you, Sofitel. Bonus for you, if you'd like to see Sela answering some of my questions, subscribe now to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/reallyfamous. Just press pause right now if you'd like. Open your YouTube app, type in Really Famous, and subscribe so you won't forget later. And you'll get notified as soon as the video is ready. Oh, and one last thing before I give you Sela Ward, now's your chance to get a personalized private episode of Really Famous to give as a gift or to keep for yourself. If you'd like me to interview someone in your life, you, a family member, friend, colleague, click in the episode notes right now. We're running a holiday special that expires soon. You can get a personalized interview in the form of a Really Famous podcast episode that won't air here, but that you can air anytime you like on your own personal devices, or in front of the whole family, let's say, at a holiday gathering, or in a big conference room to kick off your next conference at work. Just an idea. But if you'd like this before the holidays, please get started like yesterday. So that's that. And now here is Sela Ward. You're in New York because you're filming FBI here, right? It shoots in New York, correct?
Right. We shoot in Brooklyn.
And there are a lot of episodes, so you're here a lot. You're here for a long time, but don't you live in Mississippi? Is that true?
Well, I live between Mississippi and New York. I've been dying to come back to New York since I left in my 20s, and I went out to LA in 1983. Oh my God. And I realized I looked at LA as a place to work, not to live. So I'd finish working and I'd hop on a plane and come back to New York, or I'd go to Mississippi and see my family. And this went on for years. And I'd be stuck on shows for 6 years or 4 years or 3 years, and then in the 90s got married and had 2 children, and then you're in school. So you're kind of stuck where your kids are in school. So right. I've been out there for a long, long time, and I'm so happy to be back in New York. And working on FBI gives me a purpose for being here, which is great. Instead of just showing up and going, okay, here I am, a whole new life.
Yeah,
right?
You're actually living here again.
Right.
So how many episodes is it?
22.
It's 22.
We're doing 22. The
so what do
good
you do?
old-fashioned network.
That's a lot.
Scenario. Yeah.
So what is it, like 8 business days or something to complete one episode? Is that how it is for you guys?
Sometimes we do 9.
Okay.
But on the average, 8 days to shoot one show. Yeah.
How many of those days are you actually shooting yourself? Most of them?
No. I'm the boss in this show. So I really am not doing the heavy lifting of historically for shows that I've done. It's really a wonderful job. I may average 3 days a week.
That's nice.
Which is great, which is exactly what I was looking for. And love Dick Wolf, and he and I have tried to work together many times over the years, and it was just never the right time or project. And so here I am. It's just perfect. He had offered a couple of roles. We had the same entertainment lawyer. We'd have dinners and things together. And we really, I'm very fond of him. We had all talked about trying to figure out something to do, and either I'd just taken a different job or, the timing never worked out, but it finally did. So, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a different world.
Do you shoot on the streets like Law and Order much, or you're normally like in the office more?
I'm in the office a lot.
So you're not the one to, I've heard that's interesting too with Law and Order, how New York, it's all about Dick Wolf being on the street.
Yeah.
Not himself, but.
Yeah. Well, I did CSI New York, and we would come here a week, a couple of weeks a year, a season, to shoot establishing shots outside in the city. So I've done a movie here. So I've shot on the streets of New York a lot. And yeah, I'm sure most of the time they go, is that a Dick Wolf show shooting? Because he's certainly been around shooting here for a long time. And I don't have a lot out of the office, but I'm noticing as scripts are coming in, more of Dana out in the field.
Now, did your husband just run for Senate?
He did. He ran for Senate in Mississippi, where we do have a home, and that is our base. But I'm working here, which keeps me here for the moment. He did. We really wanted as a team to make a difference with no agenda. Really, my entire adult life, Mississippi has been number 50 in everything that matters: education, the lowest per capita income,
like rankings,
healthcare, everything. Ranking, yes. So we tried. Unfortunately, he was running as a Democrat, and there hasn't been a Democrat elected in Mississippi in 30 years to the Senate. The timing was a little premature. And also, politics are fascinating. We were very, very naive going into this process. And when you see the alignment of agendas, when people are career politicians and what they have at stake, to lose their standing or lose face, or who is this outsider coming in? Even though we've had a home there for 27 years,
they felt like you were an outsider because
but he
you're
wasn't
not in politics
and raised here, Howard, and so it was disappointing because even though he is my husband, he's brilliant and really had amazing ideas for bringing in industry and income into this poorly deprived state. But you've got to have people who are on the same wavelength and want that. And it's just Mississippi's not ready for change.
I don't know. I don't live there, but I imagine there aren't that many Democrats, period. Right?
No,
or did they kind of come out to say, okay, we have somebody representing us now, not the usual suspects, or not so much?
There are a handful of secret Democrats, I should say, because you're living in a very rabid right wing Christian right, very extreme sort of milieu, and there's not a lot of. It's also, if you think about it, the state is only about 3 million people. Or a little less. And, a lot of people have not traveled. The education is not great. So you have a lot of limiting forces at play. But it was probably one of the most extraordinary experiences of our lives to date, because getting out and really seeing the state that I was born and raised in up and down from the coast to the Delta, meeting the most extraordinary people and seeing what's the positive things that are happening in Mississippi, the grassroots things of people really giving of themselves and extending their hand to others was really uplifting.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't take anything for the experience.
Right. You can't, just because you don't win what you had set out to, you are gaining so much in the process, you can't give that back.
Oh, no. And I wouldn't take anything for it. I'd do it all over again.
Yeah. So you grew up in Mississippi, and then I read that you went to the University of Alabama.
Right. I did.
And you were a cheerleader?
Yeah.
So you did the whole football thing, the SEC
the whole thing with
thing.
Bear Bryant there. It was a really exciting time. It was just bigger than life.
Then you decided it was time to move to New York, and tell me if this is true or not. I read that you went to work for an ad agency. Is that true?
I did. I wanted a bigger world. I really wanted to see the world, and as much as I love the South, it is homogenized. And it's a very specific culture, and I needed to experience a bigger place out there. And New York, I was obsessed with. I just had to live here. And
but why did you see it on TV or something?
No, I actually, the first time I ever came here was to cheer for the NITs, the basketball tournaments for Alabama. And the experience of being here, I just walked around wide-eyed and just mesmerized that this big, huge, fabulous city. It was electric to me that when I had to be here. So I was a fine arts major drawing up storyboards at this audiovisual production company. So this was back when they didn't have video, if you can imagine. And so if, like, American Express, for example, wanted to have a sales meeting, then you would have, and you were doing a presentation, you'd have these synchronized slide projectors, stacks of them. And that's what I would draw up the storyboards for, like what would come first, then it would fade out, and it would morph into something else and fade out, and different scenes and things having to do with the company. And that was before video. So you had to actually draw up those storyboards, and it was just a whole different time and place. But I was starving. I was making like $6.50 an hour in 1979. And somebody said, you should model because you can make $100 an hour. I went, oh my Lord. Okay, where do I go? And I met Wilhelmina and started there doing TV commercials for Maybelline mascara and Vidal Sassoon shampoo and the print for that. And then that was, I got into this crazy business because I would start acting classes to help me with the commercial auditions.
Okay.
And I loved it. I just loved it. And all of a sudden, I had this passion for something I'd never dreamed about.
Right, so they weren't just putting you in print ads then, they were putting you in actual video. So they were
right.
doing video, you were being introduced to it in a different way.
Well, it wasn't video, remember? It was
film. Of course.
Yeah.
It was actual film that would go in the can when it's done, and
Correct.
that's how In the Can, right, started. So you took acting classes to help you with that, and you were just done, like hooked?
Absolutely hooked. I went
What'd
to
you like?
here in New York, studied with this guy, Bob McAndrew, who began teaching at Wyndham and Studio, the American Place Theater. And Bob had this delightful group of young wannabe actors. And we had a theater type setting where the class was with the stage, and we would all help each other, with our showcases and help with the sets and the costumes and the whole thing. And it was like going to a little club, and everybody go out for beers after. And it was just a special time.
Community.
Sense of community. Yeah, for sure.
So then what happened after that then? I guess at that point somebody offered you or said, why don't you try audition for this?
Well, I did a play as a showcase in that class, right? And I got an agent here in New York, and I got offered a daytime soap. It was One Life to Live, and I had, I think, 2 or 3 days on it. And I thought, oh my God, if this is what acting is like, I can't do this. Okay. I've been studying Chekhov, right? And here's assembly line production. The director's in some booth somewhere. You do your little scene. I was playing Nurse Bunny Cahill. That should tell you everything about my role. Every scene had to do with, hi, doctor. I just picked up some apple pie. Would you like some? It was inane. And you'd be doing the scene, and then, you'd finish that take, and the cameras would start rolling away, literally, to the next set, which was right beyond that wall. And I'd go, I'm sorry, could I do that one more time? But you're looking up like the wizard behind a curtain. Where is the director? I have no idea. I'm in a booth somewhere. I mean, talking to you over an intercom.
They weren't on the stage?
No. And this was just nothing like what I was studying. So I thought, gosh, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to Los Angeles. So I packed up my bags and had some savings and checked into the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And,
swanky.
2 weeks later, I had a job on The Man Who Loved Women with Blake Edwards directing with Burt Reynolds.
So that's a nice first gig out there.
It was a nice first gig.
But how did you go out there with, so you had a little bit of money.
I had saved money.
So
because I'd been working for 5 years.
That's pretty good, though, to come to New York and be able to save money at that point. You were doing all right.
Yeah.
And then you took it to LA and you got that gig right away. So was this a different agent then that you needed in LA, or was it kind of the same person who helped you get that?
This was actually through someone connected me to a friend of theirs who was a manager. And she, at the time, Dolores Robinson, had actually was under the umbrella of Blake Edwards' company. And she says, I know a part that hasn't been cast in this film, and picks up the phone and calls Blake's office. They were already filming, so I went and met Blake and in his trailer, and he had me read and stops before the scene is over and goes, okay, you got the job. I'm going, oh my God. And it was with Burt Reynolds, my scenes, and that was when Burt was, in his heyday. And
were you starstruck?
Well, I was very nervous. I'm nervous more than anything. It's just like being plopped into some altered universe, and you're really kind of having an out-of-body experience the whole time. But I will never forget the kindness of Blake Edwards and his appreciation for a young actor and nurturing talent. And he sent me to Nina Foch, who he was very close with, he and Julie Andrews, and she had coached Julian and them for a long time as an acting coach, and she, in her own right, was a wonderful stage actress. So I studied with her. She introduced me to Alexander technique. I mean, it was a very warm, nurturing experience for my first thing in Hollywood.
And then it just took off after there? Did you have any lulls where you felt like worried or frustrated or anything, or you felt like it kept going?
Not at the beginning, but, I had a long way to go. I mean, I had really only been studying for a year. I was 27. That's late, in these days to start.
No, it seems so young.
It does. It really does. But so I was never an ingenue in this business. I had to work really hard for a long time. And I would do jobs and not be so great, and or I'd be decent, but the movie didn't do great, and they were all movies, couldn't get arrested in television.
Really? And did you try and you couldn't get arrested in it?
Yeah.
That's so funny, because everybody would think it's the opposite.
But at that point in time, the two mediums were completely segregated, really.
Right, didn't everybody want to make it in film more than TV?
Yes.
Yes, and so here you were, but you couldn't get anything.
But I couldn't.
That's
nobody
so
would hire me for a TV show because I was a film person. That was a handful of things. But then I was offered a television show. The Shapiros, who were produced Dynasty, and Dynasty was so hot at the time, wanted to do this show called NAS, Naval Air Station. I forget what point. I can't remember the name of the show. And it had all of these amazing actors in it. It had Robert Vaughn and Jill St. John and Susan Day and Patrick O'Neill and Richard Dean Anderson and this crazy list of actors. So I took that show. And once I took that show, that was really it. I was in television forever.
And that switched everything.
Switched everything.
Right, but you were still in movies after that as well.
Yeah, I did movies after that, but I would do...
a small movie called The Fugitive.
I was finishing, I was on Sisters under a 6-year contract, and they let me out to go do The Fugitive, which was so awesome because you're sort of stuck,
So how did that work out then? You're right in the middle of Sisters, which is a huge show, and that was a network too, probably, right? So you were doing it like all year.
Right.
And then what happened with The Fugitive?
They worked it out so that I could go to Chicago 2 different times. That's where The Fugitive was filming. and on 2 separate occasions for about a week or 10 days worth of work. So they were kind enough to let me out, which was such a wonderful experience, because Harrison Ford, oh my Lord, when I was in high school, I was gaga over, and now I'm playing his wife, and it was really special, and he's such a cool guy, very, very down to earth, and
yeah, that's like a dreamy situation.
yeah, I was dreamy, really dreamy, and so I've had some really great experiences.
So let's go back to Sisters for a
Sure.
second. That was pretty popular, or like, do you have like one of those niche? You know what I mean? How a lot of people are so into like very deep fans of a show. I feel like Sisters was probably like that.
I think I
it?
get stopped more for Sisters
Than anything
else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you played Teddy.
Teddy, which was the rebellious, recovering alcoholic sister, the black sheep of the family, if you will. And something about that show really struck a chord with women. I mean, women always tell me, oh, I was Teddy, or I was, Julian Phillips' character, or I was, Frankie, or I was this or that. And they could see themselves in these characters, and they would watch it together. And, it really struck a chord with people. And it was on for 6 years. That's a long time to be in somebody's living room.
It is, right? Week after week.
Yeah.
They feel like they know you, especially because you're going through like personal struggles on the show. I really do feel like that helps people, or makes them feel like they know you. Even if it's your character, they still feel like they know you.
Sure.
So people stop you, and it's usually, oh, Teddy, is that what they say?
Yeah, yeah.
Who else do they think of? Other people who stop you?
It depends on what. I'll get the oddest things that I would think that people. It would be a movie that I felt like I had 10 minutes in. Especially in Europe, I'll get stopped for things like Day After Tomorrow or CSI New York and
CSI is
Paris.
huge over there, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge.
Stuff like that.
Who was? I heard somebody talking about something like that. Who could it have been? Was Ted Danson on it? CSI, or am I thinking of NCIS?
No, but he was on another one.
He was on something. I think it was him talking about the fact that for years he was on it, and here in the U.S., it was like people were like, "Oh, what have you been up to?" And then he would go there, and he was like a major superstar while it was on. I think it was Ted Danson who was talking about.
Yeah,
that.
he was on, and because they cross-bordered. He did CSI New York for a couple of episodes. I forget which one he was on.
Okay. But it was one of them, the same thing, where
Exactly.
in Europe it was gigantic.
Yeah.
So when you go there now, that's what people think of right off the bat.
Or a movie. Interesting. So you just never know. Careers are so interesting,
Aren't they?
Yeah. It's a road. You just never know what path you're going down ever,
Right.
and where it's going to lead you.
Are you the kind of person who kind of was always looking at the next possible step, or like just waiting to see what happens, or what?
I wish you could plan a career like this, but you really can't. Extraordinary opportunities come, and they're right at your fingertip, and then at the last minute, sorry, you should have come to read for me in my house. Oh, things like that fall under that Me Too category. That,
really?
Nothing, just producers saying, oh no, come read for me. Well, I already read for the director. The director chose me. Humongous movie would have changed my career overnight.
What movie?
I can't tell you that because then I don't want to. I don't like talking about all that or the context, because nothing happened except, well, no, come and read for me at my house. A producer. And I went, no, if the director wants me to come back, great. I'm not coming to your house to read, but it cost me a career-changing job, a humongous movie. And for young women in particular and young actors, I think about this a lot, that you never really know where a road is going to take you. And it might at the moment seem like on the surface the best thing that could ever happen, but you just never know. And particularly if you listen to a lot of the actresses who were really egregiously dealt with in that Me Too movement, who's the guy squashed their career. So you never ever know what you're going to get into and what it would cost you. It's whether, people didn't hop on that plane that went down because of somebody made them late, or they had a sick child, or whatever the deal was. You just never know. And I never question anymore.
So do you look back on that and think, you kind of look at those things and just say it is what it is?
At this point, I do. But what I'm really left with, and in particularly, yes, I do. The answer to that question is yes, because I don't really question anymore. If you have to push the boulder up the hill like Sisyphus, to work so hard for something, I think things that are meant to be come much more effortlessly. I think everything just sort of goes your way in that moment toward whatever it is you're trying to achieve or working toward. And when you have to work too hard and push too hard, it's just not the universal energy is not flowing in that direction. I really believe that. And if I have to work too hard or push too hard, I just sort of let go and step back. And I think that there's so many things happen that really are just for learning and a learning only. It's not so much about what you do with it or what has it. It's what do you get from that, and how do you move forward, and what is your decision making later? I want to go back to something that I think is so important in the wake of that whole Me Too situation, even in my situation where I certainly wasn't dealing with anything like that, like all that Weinstein mess. But I think that if young women were educated, if older women would be mentors and really talk to young women about the circumstances that we get into with men in the workplace, and how to handle them. If somebody had talked to me about how to handle that situation, of, no, I'm not going to that producer's house to read for him, right? How to handle that, how to navigate that, because my male agent certainly didn't help me, right? Mm-hmm. Then you would know how to navigate those waters without compromising things that are important to you. You would know how to have the strength and the wisdom and the judgment and how to maneuver. And I think we as young women at the beginning really are not taught that.
And I think also just to be able to expect it, right? If somebody's already teaching you and mentoring you, then it wouldn't be such a shock. And in the moment, if something is happening where you need to make a decision like that, or like take action or not take action or whatever you have to do, at least you're not that thrown off maybe as you would be if you didn't see any of it coming.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? It's almost like a warning.
Yeah.
A preparation.
It's a little handbook.
Yeah.
For life in the business place, right?
But that's a tough handbook, though. What are you exactly right? But I think now it's becoming easier and easier
because people are talking about it. The rug has been sort of lifted.
Yeah.
It's a gift to all of us that all of this happened, really. Mm-hmm. It's a huge gift because the power structure, because it's your livelihood, the compromises women felt they had to make.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just to survive,
So do you feel like it's changed since everything happened? Because we're only talking about like a year ago. I think it was last October that it first came out about Harvey Weinstein, right? Mm-hmm, was it? I think it was October a year ago. So have you noticed a difference at all?
Yes, you absolutely, 100%.
Like
and
how?
I'll hear it a lot from men or executives. I even had a transportation guy walk up to me the other day, and he said something about, beautiful Sela, something like that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it in any way that would be offensive.
He said that. Oh.
Yes. And he starts, apologizing quickly. I mean, he said, I know I'm not supposed to say anything like that, and I was laughing. I said, hey, it's 62. I'll take that all day long. That is so fine. But I think people are much more aware of what they're saying and how they're saying it. But there's this intrinsic male-female dance that, particularly, I was born in 56. So in the 50s and 60s, when you're small, but your parents, your mamas, from that generation, like the Mad Men era. So there is just a certain expectation of behavior between the male-female dynamic and the flirtation and the way to maneuver that and walk that fine line, that's just intrinsic to male-female animals. So I think women are so used to having to walk that fine line in the business place and in life in general that some of it is just your daily bread. It's when it goes, there's an art to it that is great to teach young women too, to protect yourself, but also help take care of their ego. There's so much for us to give to younger women.
Do you have anybody who you kind of share this knowledge
Well, I
with?
do. My daughter is 20 and she's a sophomore in college. So her and all of her friends, I'm constantly talking about, these situations, and how to prepare yourself. And she wants to be an actress, and
Okay.
I
her
have
friends too?
No,
Okay.
some of them,
but
some
they're all
of them,
open to like
but
gathering
they're
around
all
and
there.
hearing
Yeah,
your advice.
they love to talk about all that. And they're strong. This generation. Now my kid grew up in Los Angeles and is in the East in school, so she's seen a lot, and they're savvy, and they're not that they're not vulnerable to all of these things, particularly when you want something so badly in a career, right? But they know how to say no.
I agree. I have a daughter who's 18, and I can really see, and my friends' kids at the same thing. Like, we can really see they kind of get things, and they're not going to stand for a lot of the stuff that has happened before them, or
That's
that
right.
we all think is just par for the course. Like, we're like, oh, that's just how it is.
Exactly.
But they're like, no, that's not how that's not okay.
Right. And that's what I was really talking about. That's just kind of how it is. Mad Men world, right?
Right, exactly.
And just got to figure out the tricks, how
That's
to
right.
walk that fine line.
And she's like, they're like, we're not going to just say that. You can't just say that. Like, something has to be done. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry if it's going to like upset the waters or whatever, but no, we're not going to accept that, which I think is amazing. And it's going to take that to really shift things around.
I think so too.
So,
I'm excited about the new generation of young women. I mean, my daughter, I grew up in a culture in the South, the Deep South, where, everything was about manners and how you looked and how you spoke to people, and, you're there to be seen but not talk, and, all that whole deal. And so I was careful not to squash my daughter. And you pay a price when you do that, because the confidence is with adults is beyond the beyond. And, some adults just don't like that, because they didn't have that, right? And the world will tell her when she's too confident or too arrogant or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But I love that she has that. I love that she has that force that I will never take away from her.
Absolutely. So is she your only child?
I have a son.
You have a son too?
Yeah, my son is 24.
24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is he?
He's in LA.
Okay. So you're kind of everywhere then. You said you were in Mississippi a little bit. You have a house there.
Mm-hmm.
You're here in New York, and you have a place in LA too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's the time? Do you hop around a lot?
It's very difficult. The fantasy that you want places, in more than one place is really hard.
It does seem great though, right?
It
So
seems
somebody who's not
great,
doing it,
right?
it seems like ideal, but it's hard.
It's hard because you lose connections with friendships. And, if I'm sitting here in New York and let's say I finished filming and it's January and it's freaking freezing and snowing, and let's just go back to LA, right? But you really need to be in a place. You need to be here during the thick and the thin. You need to be here where people gather inside. You need to be here to maintain relationships, friendships. I mean, if you really want to feel rooted to a community, you have to be there.
Like actually rooted.
Actually rooted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what I'm finding out. So it's hard.
And your daughter you said she's in school on the East Coast?
She's on the East Coast.
So is she close to New York or
She's in
no?
Providence, so she's close.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So at least you can train back and forth and still be rooted here when you're here.
Exactly.
And what does your son do in LA?
He works for a company called Cobalt, which is a music company, and his passion is music. He's really a wannabe musician, so he does his day job, and it's in the music industry, which he loves, and he loves Cobalt, and then he goes and works all night doing, playing music, doing sessions with different musicians, and writing music and performing music, and I wish him luck. I think he's so talented, but I'm his mama, so just
of course.
But I love seeing him really doing what he loves, which is great. You just want your kids, to succeed because it's what they want for their soul. So, but it's his journey, and I'll keep my fingers crossed, and he's working hard. It's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and if he's passionate about it, then the work will come easily. Like, obviously, if he's out at night, too, because he wants to. He loves it. He would do it all day and all night.
All day and all night.
So he's on the right track, it sounds like to me. And, of course, like we said before, like, you don't know what this is going to lead to that, to that, to that.
100%.
But at least he's in the zone that he feels compelled to be in.
Yes.
Right?
That's a gift, isn't it?
Yeah. And so you're okay with your daughter going into acting? Like, that feels good to you? It feels, or no?
You know why? Because she has, since she was 2 years old, wanted to be an actress. And her whole behavior, she's a very extroverted young woman, and I'm very introverted. This did not spring naturally from me at all. I was very shy. But she's not, and she's... this is so much better suited for her as a profession than it was for me. And she has all the stuff. It's just a matter of, luck and hard work.
So are you still shy?
Not anymore.
Not at all?
Not anymore, but I've worked really hard on that. And the more you put yourself out there, the easier, as you know, with anything in life, right?
Right. It's like act as
but my nature is
introverted?
more introverted. Yeah. Yeah. I like to sit back and observe, and
yeah,
it's just who I am.
Yeah.
My son's like that too. He's quieter, thoughtful.
Checking everything out.
Checking it out, taking it in.
Analyzing it all.
Yeah,
coming up with theories or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you go out, but you have to be social in this business that you're in. Mm-hmm. So you've learned how to kind of weave that into your introversion?
I don't enjoy going to a lot of things that are large events where they're not personal, they're very impersonal. People look from the outside in and go, oh my gosh, you get to go to those glamorous things. But the truth is, it's a lot of work to get dressed. And with today's world of people taking photographs, when you don't even know it. And, you have to have hair and makeup done and find an outfit. And oh my Lord, by the time you finish, you're exhausted.
Right before you even get there.
Yeah. So I go to the things that really speak to me, that I'm passionate about, and that matter to me. And my energy at this point in life is precious, my time and energy.
What do you do in your off time?
Well, I am a painter. That was my major in college. And I've got a little studio space here in New York, and try to get in there whenever I can.
Oh, that's cool. So you have your own space right here that you can just go to whenever you're feeling creative, or like you have something to express.
Yes. So it's really, really special, and so much part of my soul. And I love to travel. So but having said that, it's really to those heart places, to the farm in Mississippi, and back to LA, mostly to see my son. Los Angeles is not my soul place. I love the East Coast. I love the South. I love New York. I'm happy being on the seaboard, Eastern Seaboard.
I feel you. So do you have the holidays like here, or do you go?
Yeah, we'll be here for Thanksgiving, and we'll go to the farm for Christmas.
Okay. So it all works out.
It
but
all
then when you
works.
want to travel somewhere else, though, you're probably like torn, like, oh, but I want to see my son in LA. I want to go back to Mississippi, but I also
Correct.
want to go to wherever, Paris. Do you have that
Yeah,
issue?
and Paris, is on the bottom of the list.
Oh, is it?
you're trying to make the circuit, right?
Yeah.
Take
it's tough.
advantage of what you have.
So what I'd like to do is set up a little quick video, and I'm going to do some kind of quick answers, and we'll include that on the podcast. But before we do that, I just have like 2 questions that I want to make sure that I get to. Any life regrets or any things that you look back on and think, oh, if only I had, or I didn't want to, but I kind of wish that I had?
Well, those would all involve men, where I was like, gee, if I had just gotten out of those relationships much faster. But there again, I think it takes hitting the wall in certain circumstances and relationships in order to extricate yourself from ever choosing that again.
Mm-hmm. Right, for it to really sink in.
Yeah.
So that you really internalize it and know what to do with it later.
Correct.
Because if you did do it too quickly, maybe, and then you would keep repeating it possibly.
Correct. But that's my only, if I were to have a regret, that would be it. It's just being in relationships that didn't serve me. But there's a reason why you choose those. So you have to work all that out so that you can choose something different.
Yeah.
Better for yourself.
You have to be a little introspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And do a little analysis.
Yeah.
Why did I go there?
Exactly.
And something that you learned about life that you want to pass on to your daughter or your son?
Oh, just not to be afraid. I think fear stops us from so many things. And it's hard because, we all want guarantees in life, and there are none. But there's really nothing. Okay, I'm not talking about the world at the moment, because the world at the moment is very frightening. So, but aside from that, just in your journey in life, whether it's relationships or whether it's work or whether it's your art or your music or your acting or your whatever your passion is, you could be the greatest rose gardener. The fear, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I have to make, I have to make enough money to do this or that. I mean, all those kinds of decisions that we make out of fear, it paralyzes us.
So how did you learn that? The hard way or an easy way?
I think really, I was so fearful for so long, younger, that I worked really hard to try to get on the other side of that and understand, with that famous quote from, I don't know whether it was Churchill or whoever it was. I think I'm attributing it to the wrong person, I think, but there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And I finally got that that's really true. What are you really afraid of? That I'm going to fall on my face and not get that job, or what is I'm really, really afraid of? That people won't like me, that, and when you really ask yourself that question and keep distilling it down, well, then what? And what else? And what else? Then you get to, well, really, I guess none of that matters, right?
Yeah.
And,
well, it does. It takes the heft out of it, right?
Yeah.
The weight out of it.
Exactly.
And then it's no longer, it doesn't have the strength that it had before.
Right.
So you ready for the quick answers? What makes you nervous?
What makes me nervous? Not a lot anymore. Isn't that funny? I'm not a great flyer. The news makes me nervous. The world makes me nervous. Trump makes me nervous.
What keeps you up at night?
The world, Trump, the meanness in the world right now, particularly in our country. That keeps me awake, makes me sad.
Is it hard to read the news for you? To read even the headlines?
Yeah, it is. It's a very troubling time, and it makes me, first and foremost, very sad for my children. because I didn't grow up in this. Although the reality is that, if you know anything about history, this is just one big circle, and this too shall pass. And it'll come back to some stabilization and normalcy and kindness. And then it'll repeat itself again. We're just animals, aren't we?
I'm ready for it to keep going around.
Yeah, we need
Come
to go
back the other way.
hurry
Please,
up
hurry it
and
up.
get out of this cycle.
Speed that cycle up. What cracks you up?
Oh gosh, like Peter Sellers' movie The Party.
What was your favorite TV show when you were a child?
Dark Shadows.
What were your 20s like?
My 20s were really fun because I left the South at 20 and moved to New York. And that chapter was just, all of my 20s were just fantastic, just full of wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, oh my God, there's a big world out there and I want it, It was a great time in the 20s.
If you could choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Oh my God, my parents.
Yes.
My parents. It's so funny. The first thing that came to my mind was Doris Day. And
who's your dad?
The dad. Who would the dad be? Oh, wow. So many great actors. Jimmy Stewart.
Always a good choice.
Yeah.
Are you a good driver or a bad driver?
I'm a really good driver.
Where'd you learn how to drive?
Mississippi.
Do you drive in New York?
We got our license at 15.
Oh, 15.
Uh-huh. So we could drive tractors and things.
Do you drive in New York?
Yeah.
And are you good in New York?
Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's fun to drive in New York.
Where's the best place to drive?
I spend a lot. I have great friends in Philly, so I'll go to Philly a lot. Bucks County, so nice to go antiquing and drive out to the beach, whether it's the Jersey Shore or whatever, anywhere. It's just a great little day trip adventure.
If you invited me over for dinner, what would you prepare for me?
Probably not much, since I don't cook.
Not into cooking, huh?
Not into cooking, but I could have a delicious dinner for you.
So where would you take it out from? Where's your favorite place?
I'd probably have somebody make it.
What's your most dreaded household chore?
Most everything involved with the house.
Including cooking.
Including cooking. I'm a working gal. It's funny. You just miss a whole skill set.
What item can you never resist?
An item?
An item, something you see at a store or something on a menu, anything.
Well, the first thing that came to my head was not so much an item, but hardware stores. I love.
What?
Hardware stores.
But you don't like household chores and whatnot, but do you like
building
things?
I love preparing for all those things and organizing for all those things. So hardware stores are I could just spend all day in a hardware store.
Really?
Yeah. And bookstores. I love bookstores.
What's your favorite bookstore?
Book Soup at the moment, because there's so few left. Book Soup in LA on Sunset.
Do you read on a Kindle, or what do you do? How do you read now?
No, I don't. I'm just of a different generation. I don't like reading electronically. I like the paper. I like the tactile part of it, even a newspaper.
You read the print news still?
Yes. I love it. It's just very different. And I can look at it and decide, let me look back at that page and this. And I'm very visual, so it really bugs me to have to swipe and go back.
If you weren't an actor, what would you be?
A doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind?
I'm not really sure. Probably an internist.
Did you think about becoming a doctor at some point? Because
No,
you were a
but
fine arts major.
I was, but my mama took my chemistry set away from me in the 5th grade when I had gone to the library on my own to learn all the abbreviations for the elements. I was obsessed with chemistry, afraid I was going to blow myself up or poison myself. Poor little girls at that point in time, right? Oh. So medicine, I'm just fascinated by.
That is amazing.
I can't get enough of the research. I want to know more.
Yeah, you didn't hesitate at all when I asked you that. Right away.
Yeah,
doctor. What's one acting role that got away?
Every great female role. That would be the answer. Because you're always looking as an actress in particular. Oh my God, what an amazing role for a woman. but there, I've had some great roles, and I've worked with really talented actors, so I have no regrets on any of that.
And last question, what's something that people would never guess about you?
That probably, the first thing that came to my mind is that you see me barefooted in blue jeans and a t-shirt at the farm. That's what I live in. That's what I live in LA. But just easy breezy casual with my bare feet on the ground.
Thank you so much, Sela.
Thank you.
Did I seem a little different to you during this interview? I don't know. I felt a little different, and I'm pretty sure it's because we had a major time constraint going on, and I think it was weighing on me, especially at the beginning. But if you have an opinion about that, reach out to me. Let me know. I'm curious. Also, remember to get your personalized Really Famous episode today or yesterday. The special promo ends like almost immediately. And if you want it before the holidays, well, it's now or never. There's a link in the show notes. I'm Cara Mayer Robinson. This is Really Famous. I've been releasing episodes weekly now. Have you noticed? On a pretty steady basis. Did you notice? Do you like it? Does it matter? Do you care when the episodes come out? Let me know. I'm sort of a feedback junkie, so reach out to me and tell me at reallyfamouspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Really Famous. I love having you as a listener. Stay tuned for more authentic talk with spectacular people.
Hi, I'm Sela Ward. I just finished talking to the great Cara on Really Famous. We had so much fun. Tune in to FBI, which is on CBS 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Tuesday nights.